Hello. We're doing Throne of Liberty today. I want to talk about... Well, I want to talk about the game, but I also want to talk about the fact that this is what I'm playing right now, so this is what I'm recording right now. Black Desert's on in the background, but I've been having problems getting costumes, so we're playing Throne of Liberty instead. I've been playing Throne of Liberty with the wife. So, I did a Throne of Liberty video. It's been a while. Right after it first came out. And the game's okay. It's okay. I want to show the gameplay loop for anyone that hasn't tried it at this point. This video is probably like 4 months too late. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to go do some stuff. So you have 3 currencies. Dimensional Contract Token up in the top right. 2. Dimensional Contract Token 1. And Abyssal Contract Tokens. The Abyssal Contract Tokens give you basically these open world dungeons. They're dungeons like they're called Silas Abyss, Shadow Crypt, all the ones with these little things. Temple of Sylvaeth, Ant Nest, those are the lower level ones. The level 50 in-game for now, until they do a content update. Sanctum of Desire and Sardoma Island, those are the 4, and then, like I said, the other ones are lower tier. The map isn't huge. It's just this part that's lit up here, and that's Sardoma Island, one of the dungeons. So, you have those are like open world non-instance dungeons. You can just go there and go in them. If you kill things there to get loot, you have to spend Abyssal Contract tokens. So every time you kill one and get loot, it subtracts tokens. Every time you do a dungeon and want to get in the loot at the end, it takes a certain amount of your Dimensional Contract tokens. So there are 1-star dungeons and 2-star dungeons. And that's the difference between the tokens. So it's kind of a little brief explanation. So you run dungeon. At the end, you collect the reward. It subtracts some of your tokens. When you hit 0, you can't get rewards from that dungeon anymore till the recharge. You get 900 a day. There are other ways to recharge them. I'm not gonna like fully go into that, but that's kind of the gist of it. Same with the tier 2 ones or the 2-star ones. I'll show those off real quick. 2-star, which are the harder ones. 1-star, they have a required combat here, and depending on which one you run, you have to have a certain gear score to actually enter them. You know, pretty standard MMO RPG stuff. And it lists the loot on the side, what you can possibly get, and if you click on probability, it lists your chances out of each group that you can get. So there's that. Now the open world stuff doesn't have like a gear requirement or whatever to enter. You just, if you can kill there, you can kill there, and it kind of lists the loot. If you click on the monster info, once you click on the area on the world map, kind of tells you the different things you can drop there from the different monsters. So there's that. The gameplay loop at in-game, you know, you go through the story, level up, doing all the quests, which is in a codex. So adventure, this is like the main story. You have 10 chapters. I think I've done all. Yeah, I did all of it. You go all the way through that. Then you have exploration, which is kind of like side quests, or area quests, and there's little things to do, and you get little rewards. I've done a bunch of them. I didn't do all of them. And then you have a collection log, which is just different pages hidden around the world to collect. It's kind of like a way of introducing the lore. So the gameplay loop is level to 50 doing the adventure quests, supplemented with the explorer quest from this codex. So adventure supplemented with exploration, because they have level requirements as you go. Once you hit 50, it's all about gear. The in-game gameplay loop is tier 1-star dungeon, 2-star dungeons, and open world dungeons, which are the abyssal tokens when you have them, and contracts. Now contracts are basically daily quests. You get 10 a day. I did one earlier. You get 10 a day. You can take them from a contract manager, and they're just different little small quests that you go do. There's like a handful of them that it rotates through. It's random which ones you get, but they're all the same, basically. You know, out of the same pool, so you'll see they're repeatable. And as long as you have contracts, you can sign them. You can take 5 at a time, and when your total contracts is out, like I have 9 left for the day, you get 10 a day. It stacks up to 60, and that's it. Now, from doing the contracts, you get rewards, and you get open world tokens. You also get open world tokens from doing dungeons, getting loot out of dungeons. So the gameplay loop is kind of do your contracts, run your 1-star dungeons, run your 2-star dungeons, and then run open world dungeons as you want to, and spend these coins down, or tokens down. The other thing that isn't really limited is dimensional trials. You can farm these as much as you want, and the main mission for that is ruins. Ruins kind of supplement your gear. So that's the gist of it, and if you're wondering, my combat power 41, 47. I'm almost maxed on most things. I went from playing Sentinel, which is staff greatsword, to playing Crusader, which is sword and shield greatsword, because my wife plays a healer and we needed a tank, and we were having problems with tanks. As soon as I switched them, we joined this big guild, and we haven't had any problems with tanks, so I've been considering switching back, but I don't think I'm going to. I'm going to stay Crusader. But here is my gear. There's my stats. I'm running 70 strength and 46 perception. And 41 dexterity. I basically am focused on strength and perception, and with backup in dexterity. For the Crusader, dexterity is important for damage. I'm not focused on damage right now. I'm basically just full tank. But here is the gear I'm using. Helm of the Field General, Play of the Field General, Sabatons of the Field General, and then 2 Shot Commander Gauntlets and Shot Commander Greaves for the set bonus. I get damage reduction set bonus for the Shot Commander, and for the Plate of the Field General, I get melee heavy attack chance. And then we have the Forsaken Embrace that gives me more damage reduction. And then I've chosen these accessories based on the fact that they give me strength and perception and some dexterity. And you can see the little blue band on there. Those are my rune bonuses. So I get a lot of health and stat points from that. Can't get runes on armor, only on weapons. And here's my weapon. I don't have crit chance on my sword and shield. I have health instead, and then I'm running a Duke Magnus Fury Blade, which isn't really the dungeon tank weapon. You should have the provoking blade, but I'm doing this for the heavy attack, kind of more of a damage based thing. Tier 2 gear is going to be out pretty soon anyway, so it doesn't really matter at this point. Plus, these weapons are kind of intermediary. You really want arch boss weapons, which are like world bosses. You have dungeons, you have world bosses, and you have arch bosses. So these are like the arch bosses are events that run every once in a while. You have different world bosses that run at certain times. Bellendir and see the difference. If I hit Alt C, it shows the max stats. So the Queen Bellendir's blade doesn't give quite as much strength and doesn't give max health, so I would lose health if I swap, but it gives a passive skill, and it also gives almost double the damage reduction and a lot more damage and more shield block chance. And it gives me collision chance over the max health and humanoid damage. So that would be a good thing for me to swap to if I can get my hands on one. Now the greatsword would be a Tevent. It gives strength and dexterity, so I would let's do this. I gotta hold shift and then Alt C. So I would lose 3 dex, but I would gain 8 strength. So if I swap to both of these, my stat points wouldn't really change much. Plus, I would get both passive skills, and it gives more damage and more stun chance. I lose a little bit of cooldown, but so you can kind of see the comparison on the gear. But for now, this is what I'm running. My Other thing, so when I take contracts to get rewards, I try to get parchments, because parchments are what you craft into skill books to level your skills, and power creep is a thing in MMORPGs, and I always go for permanent upgrades versus the first, and then gear second, because gear is always going to be replaceable because they're gear treadmills. That's how they keep you playing the game. So gear is always a thing you're going to be working on anyway. So I always try to max everything for my actual character that's not going to change before I work on things that could possibly change. So you have weapon masteries. These are like other little passive skills that you get. They level up to 20. I swapped from staff to greatsword. You can see my staff was already 14. And I had staff greatsword. I swapped to sword and shield from staff. So my sword is finally at 15. It's taken me a while to catch it up. But they just give a little bit of passive. See, like damage reduction 6, buff duration 6%, evasion, different skills, just little micro upgrades. But the real thing are your skills. They have different tiers, so they start out at I think they start out at like white, don't they? Yeah, no, they start out at green. So it goes green, blue, and then purple. So if I go over to staff, I had a few of these leveled up. So you got five levels in each. Get up to green 5, and then blue 5, and then goes up to purple. Most of my sword and shield and greatsword skills are maxed out. See, like I got purple 5 on all of these. That one's 4. This one's 2. That one's 1. I haven't worked on some of these, but my main focus is tank because it's my dungeon running build. So all my passives are 5 except for the morale boost, and it's 4. Once that gets 5, then I'm going to be focusing back on the active skills. You have to craft 2 different skill books. You don't get skill points in this game. They're books. And I actually have a couple, so I can show. You click on the upgrade, and you just click level up, and it tells you how many it requires at the bottom, and then click it, and it gives you a chance. And it has these rates on what it'll grow. 40% chance to grow 25%, and then so on. And sometimes it'll do a special, and you click and hold the screen, and you'll get a greater or a special that'll grow significantly more. So that's how that works. But it's like a long-winded explanation, kind of trying to get through the basics of the game really quickly so that I can explain and do a little bit of playing here. But give you a background of where I stand at. I'm not the most geared, but I'm doing okay. So I got all these at 5. This is 5. And that's what I'm working on currently. Went over that, and now if I switch back with my tank build, I'm at 4193. Your combat power is based off of your stats. So your passive skills factor into it, your gear factors into it, your stat points, all that stuff factors into it. I don't know how I'm going to get higher because my cape is only missing 1 trait, which traits are here. They're kind of like item passive skills, and you can... If I can do a trait list. Let's open it in the inventory. So we have these traits on the left. It shows you all the possible traits you can put on a piece of gear. My piece of gear happens to be I'm running max health, skill damage resist, and debuff duration. You can specialize with bind resist, weaken resist, health regen. You can take 3 of the 6 that are here. I chose those 3, and then you just pump blue gear or purple gear with the same trait into it. Once you have them unlocked, you have to have the exact same item with the trait you want to actually unlock the trait, but once you have level 1, you can just pump anything as long as it's the same type of gear into that. So I've been taking blue gear and just doing an attempt at upgrading, and that's how you see it has like 4 tiers of each trait. It's missing 1 on the debuff because I haven't got it to go yet, and so I'm just been collecting items that have the debuff duration trait that are capes or cloaks and dumping them into them. That's how you upgrade your items. Now Now you can also upgrade their level, not just their traits, and that's where the little 9 comes from. You use upgrade stones for that. It's not like Black Desert. There's no failing, and there's just different varying degrees of success. So sometimes you'll get more progress to the next level than others. The other thing I need to work on is ruins. I don't have my ruins maxed yet. 20s and 30s, and some of them are in the 40s. Max is 60, I think. So there is a lot of information in a short amount of time. I'm going to show off the gameplay loop. So usually what I'll do is I will go to the one of the places that you can get contracts from. Pure Light, Tower, Kanina Village, or the Watcher's Post. Those are the in-game places where you can get contracts from. You come over to the contract manager. I like Pure Light because it's easy.
Contracts here. Would you like to...
And you can access the contracts. Usually you get a refresh, but you have to complete a contract to get a refresh after you've taken one. I look for these rewards here. So the first 3 rewards are always going to be the same unless they're a higher tier. You can have 1 through 3. These are all tier 1s, and I'm looking for parchments in this last spot, but there aren't any here. So what I can do is come over here to Kanina Village. Give it a little teleport. I try to teleport to the main city because it's free. Not like I'm hurting on Solent. Also, we're in Black Division, which is one of the big guilds on the Whisperian server. There's only 4 players online right now, which is weird. See, like this guy, he plays the same classes. I don't know why he's got double crossbows on right now, but he's a tank. Sword and Shield Greatsword, just like me. 4433 for his gear. And I don't know why he's running double crossbows. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But if I'm going to up my combat power much more, I should be able to get to the mid 4200s, like 4250, somewhere around there. And if I want to go on up, I'm going to have to get better weapons, I think. No parchments here. I may have to take a contract I don't want to do just to reset. The reason parchments are so important is because to make one of these skill books, you need 5 purple parchments. And to get 5 purple parchments, you either have to go farm them in an open world dungeon or a dungeon, or you need 15 blue ones. Well, you get like 30 per contract. So you can get a couple purple parchments. It takes 5 for a skill book, so you can kind of see you get maybe 2 or 3 skill books a day if you're lucky, and reset and get all parchments as contract rewards. Here's one. So I'll do this one. I get 33 rares. Now you can get parchments out in the world. And now this is cool. So some of these you get precious blessing pouch, which I will take over top of a parchment because you can get contracts that don't count towards your max count. So like these blue ones, you can use these. And these are a reward from the blessings. And the other thing is this is a tier 2, so it gives you 150,000 solid instead of 75, so you get double. You get more contract coins. And preferably I would like parchments, but if it has a tier 2 or tier 3, I'm taking it. And then we reset, and as you can see, we want the pouch. And then we'll just take the easier of the 2. Gathering stuff is pretty easy, so we'll just take that. Now, while I'm out in the open world, I have a different build that I use. Instead of using full tank, I use DPS, so I can actually kill stuff myself. And I'm a little bit lower gear score because my skills for my DPS build are not as high as my skills for my tank build, because I focused on the tank because I want to be able to run dungeons as efficiently and be as tanky as possible. And I don't need damage whenever I'm running dungeons because we have one healer, one tank, which I'm the tank, and then 4 damage dealers. So I don't have to focus on damage whenever I'm running. So I just went all tank for dungeon builds, and I figured that'll help my gear out faster than a DPS build. So we're at 4159 in the DPS build, and that is due to this skill only being level 2, this skill only being level 2, this one only being level 3, and this one only being level 1, and then I'm missing a passive skill. So, but it does help me level faster. Now, where do we have to go? North. So we want to go up there. And there aren't mounts. You hit shift and it shifts you into a little, like, land creature. Could be like this little tiger that I'm running, but there's different ones you can choose from. So I think I've thoroughly explained the whole gameplay loop of this. You do your contracts every day. You don't have to do them every day, but they only stack up to 60, and then you don't get any new ones until you kind of clear them out. So your max count will go up to 60. Run your dungeons, and then you can grind open dungeons. You don't want to let your coins stack up to max because you can't gain any more, and they'll just be deleted. So if you hit close to 40,000, go spend some tokens in the open world dungeons before you start running co-op dungeons that are instanced, because you'll just be wasting token recharges, because every time you get rewards from a dungeon, you get open world abyssal contract tokens. So that's kind of your gameplay loop, and then there's dynamic events around the world, because you're doing those. You're running the instance dungeons, you're running the open world dungeon, you're doing your contracts. That's kind of your repeatable. Sorry, I probably just destroyed some people's ears. That's just your repeatable gameplay loop. And then there's dynamic events to kind of break things up based on what time you are. So you'll have like a thing where they have a little event that appears in the area, and then you have to like do whatever it says at that, and you can choose which one to go to. They kind of have a bunch of them that spawn or begin. In this case, in an hour. Then there's world bosses or area bosses that drop different loot that you go to. Some of them are peaceful, some of them are contested, so that means you can fight player. You probably be player killed. Big guilds go, like my guild goes to a lot of these things. But the peaceful ones, it's just all co-op. You just go there and kill the boss and see if you get anything from it or not, and it lists what it does. So there's that. There are life skills. There's cooking, which you gather ingredients. There's like mining and tree chopping and herb gathering, which is kind of like mushrooms and that kind of stuff. And then there's fishing, and there's also a bunch of stuff you get from doing the dungeons and killing monsters and stuff. And they cook into different recipes. Mine's maxed out at 20 because I've done a little bit of it. The expedition is from the Amatoys. It's like your little fairy companion if you're comparing Black Desert. And that gives you cooking ingredients and different things when you send those on an expedition, and they come back and you get rewards from it. And then there's fishing. You need a fishing rod, and you just fish, and you reel in fish or big sacks or small sacks that give you different items. So that's the extent of the life skilling, basically. It gives you a little bit more variety of things to do, but the combat isn't too bad. The thing that I hate the worst is like the tab target. Not so. I like the tab target, but it's like the targeting. Like if I'm standing right in front of something, and I hit tab, it's going to cycle through everything before it comes back to what's right in front of me. So like, if I click on that one far away and then hit this one, it's going to target this, but it cycles. So if I click this guy that's right next to me and I hit tab, it's not going to cycle back to him until it cycles through literally everything else. So it's just a little frustrating. I have mine set to target closest, but it still cycles. It goes they need to fix it to where it's not cycling so bad. It just always does the closest enemy, and that would actually fix a lot of it. The other qualm that I have with the game is the movement. If you get on rocks, it sometimes does what it just goes whichever direction it wants. And there, I just have a little bit of issues with some of that movement. It should really be addressed. But I have the Garen from League of Legends spin to win and a nice big AoE. It feels really nice playing as a Crusader, sword and shield, great sword, because I rarely take damage. I have 25,000 health, which, to give you perspective, most of the DPS, like mages and stuff, they have anywhere from like, the really geared ones have like 17, 18,000. I've seen some that spec into health that have like closer to 19. But your majority of your mages that are full damage are sitting around 12 to 14,000 health. So that gives you a comparison. Being a healthy, tanky boy, I'm got almost double a lot of players' health. But I have a lot less damage. I still do damage, but where I'm having to use 2, 3, 4 skills because of the way my class works, other classes are using one skill and one-shotting whole packs. So, yeah, I mean, the trade-off is there. But I feel like this game is not nearly as in-depth as other MMORPGs, but it's a fun little dungeon runner, you know. There's enough to do that you can waste a lot of time just doing chores and stuff. And I never minded that in games. You know, I would rather do quests than just go grind monsters. The only thing that's frustrating to me with the gameplay loop is the fact that if I do feel like going and grinding monsters, I can only do it as long as I have tokens. Once I run out of tokens, then I can't get any more. There's a guy. See, he's a staff greatsword, so he's a sentinel. He's running pretty much the same build I was, but look at his health. 17,000. Very low compared to my tank build. And that extends more when you realize that the amount of defenses I have: 2,700 range, 17. I'm not spec'd into magic. 1786 on magic, and melee defense is 2,500. So my character is kind of weak to magic. I don't have endurances for magic. I have 800 ranged endurance, melee endurance, and magic endurance is literally 30. So like I take a lot of damage from magic-based things. Mages, if I can't get on a mage and lock the mage down, then I get hurt pretty bad. Alright, let's see. We need to find some gatherable items around here. I'll show off the life skilling, kind of like how it functions. I'm not familiar with this place because I don't quest here very often. I did the main story in here and I haven't really been back too much since. Here's a wild herb here. So you just walk up to it. You don't need any tools or anything. You just hit your F key or whatever your main key is set to, and it gathers, and you get a variety of different life skilling type items. And here's a stone. So that was an herb. This is a stone. There's 3 different categories. So you can do mining. And I got some mana steel. It's not very important. The last thing is there's trees, and you do wood chopping, basically. I don't see any trees around here. There's another stone up there we can kind of get to. We'll have to kill these monsters out here. Oh, here's a chief. We can take down the chief. Spin on them, get them nice and iced up. Do a little extra damage with the big ice skill. Lagging a little bit. Charge up a great sword, slam, and hit it. So I have the big thing with counter barrier is the big sword and shield gimmick. You put that on and it gives you massive amounts of shield block chance, so you just basically take 0 damage on a chance. And then it also reflects it back. which is very nice for doing damage. So it's a dual weapon system, but you have a main weapon, and then you can use skills from the other weapon. So like half of these skills, that's a greatsword skill. You can see in the top right corner when I hover over it. It says active skills greatsword. Basically, it will pull out the greatsword, use that skill, and then it switches back to sword and shield. So I keep my sword and shield out as my main weapon because it gives me shield block chance, and then I just use the skills with the hotkeys. And I have an MMO mouse. It's kind of worn. I have a new one. I just haven't switched. I'm basically keeping my new one as new and pristine as possible, but I can hold this up. I have the 12 button. You can see the paint's kind of worn off from me using it so much. This thing is like 8 years old. It's a 2014, but I didn't get it in 20. I got it in like, it actually might be that old. It might be 10 years old. I try to take care of my peripherals so I don't mess them up. Alright, we need to go down there, so let's teleport to that thing. Hopefully, before. And if you hear my phone going off, my wife is being a chatty thing today. Hey, look, there's a tree. I have to gather in this place too, so you can I'll show off the tree. Wood chopping, but it's not like there's tools. It's not like Black Desert where you have like life skilling tools. You basically just, it's bare minimum in terms of life skilling. It's just kind of a little bit of extra gameplay that they've thrown in. It's nice that it's shallow and it's there, but at the same time, sometimes you want to be able to dive into things a little bit deeper. So here's a little mini event that you have to do for a contract. You activate this thing and then you wait, and you have to defend it until it goes through its cycle, and all the monsters in the area will attack it. And so you just zombie. You just defend it, make sure that its HP bar doesn't reach 0, and then you can complete your quest whenever it's went through its time limit. So I probably need to address the passive skills. So whenever you're hitting things that the way the sword and shield synergizes with itself is when counter barrier is active and you hit things, the piercing strike gets a cooldown reduction when you reflect damage while counter barrier is active, so that you don't do as much damage with the great sword, or as a great sword, using sword and shield. Like the other classes do more damage. The great sword is where most of your PvE damage comes from, or even your PvP damage. The greatsword is basically a big two-hander, like nuking weapon. But your sword and shield is like short cooldown, lesser damage skills, so you're like high APM. It's very good utility-wise. You get a lot of like crowd control and tankiness. So you're very tanky, and you're spamming out short cooldown skills and just doing your best to crowd control stuff. Which in PvP, that's what I do. My wife plays a full healer, bow wand, and she's very tanky. She has a little bit higher gear score than me. I think she's like 43 something. And that's because I swapped from staff greatsword over to sword and shield greatsword, so I ended up missing out on a little bit of gear score because I had to swap and upgrade the traits. But I'm catching back up. Anyway, so she's a full healer, and I follow her around and basically just protect her in PvP. I go my PvP tank build, and I have 4 skills that I just keep basically putting on her. Devoted Sanctuary makes it to where anybody in my area gets linked to me, and I absorb 70% of the damage that they're taking because I'm spec'd into it. It says 40, but I have transfer increase, which is another 30%, so you get basically 70%. And then you only take 70% of that damage. So you're mitigating damage while absorbing it from other party members. I have an HP increase, a heal, and an HP increase, and have a damage reduction skill. So I put all this on, and I just follow her around, and I tank, soak damage from her. And then anybody that gets on her, I provoke them and counter barrier so that they are hitting me. And when they hit her and me while I have the blood soak active, then they get reflected. So they basically kill themselves while hitting us, and she keeps me alive. And then anybody that still jumps on her, I just crowd control them. And that's my whole PvP plan while I'm doing that. Now, I do have PvP damage, which is more of a bruiser build, not as tanky. I'm still pretty tanky, but it's mostly crowd control and burst DPS. To give you an idea of how the PvP on Crusader works. But I usually just go around doing my contracts in DPS and open world in DPS, and then my full tank build for PvE is how I run the dungeons. And then depending on what kind of PvP we're doing as a guild, my other two stances I will bring in and decide from that. Arena, I'm probably going to go
You should hurry and pick a
the
contract.
bursty build. Like the PvP, it's basically the same thing as a big YouTuber Canon used before tier 2 was a thing. So it's kind of following his build there. All right, so we got 4 more. We can do this one. I don't see one that I like. We're just gonna have to take one. We'll get some gatherables there. There's one that gives parchment. And this one isn't good either. So we'll just do another gatherable. And that's all my contracts for the day. I do these 4 and I'm done.
Good luck to you.
And then it's on to doing dungeons and open world dungeons. Now, I will say that tier 1 dungeons take 300 tokens to get loot. So you're ending up being, if you are running them every day, you get 3 a day that you can run, because 900 divided by 3 is 300 is 3. So you get 3 tier 1 dungeons you can loot. The tier 2s cost 450, so you can do 2 of those a day because you get 900 recharged every day. So basically you can run 5 dungeons, get loot a day, 10 contracts a day, and then whatever open to tokens you have. And then if you have any of these just random blue ones, these training dues increase your mastery. You get them for running contracts. And that is your daily gameplay loop. You supplement that with world events, world bosses, guild PvP stuff, or guild bosses if your guild's running those. And then you can also do arena and life skill stuff. So there's plenty to do in the game. It's just, it gets boring because it's the same thing over and over. Joining a big guild definitely changes the way the game feels. I was getting burnt out, and I was feeling like I didn't want to play much, and I wasn't logging on. And then my wife got us into Black Division. So we are now running guild stuff and, you know, interacting with a big guild and helping them. And they're helping us, and it feels a lot different. The game feels better. There's motivation there. So that's pretty cool. But that's what I got, and that's what I'm playing. To end this off, I'll go do these contracts on my time. I won't make y'all watch me do that again. But Black Desert is in the background. I'm still horse training. I'm having trouble getting costumes on there. And so there's no Cronstones. So there's nothing to push for upgrades. I just have to literally wait for people to sell costumes in the marketplace. So I'm playing Black Desert very casually right now. But Throne Liberty, very active. We're playing, he said, on Whisperian server. And we'll see what server we end up on when they do server merges, because that's what is coming next. And then they're going to probably put in the content update here at the end of the month or something, or next month. I don't know exactly when, but then tier 2 gear will be out, and we'll be back on the gear treadmill. we'll be farming gear. So my plan for now is to upgrade character skills, finish out my cape or my cloak, and then work on my 2 rings, because I got a couple of traits on them that aren't maxed out. And then it's full focus on getting better weapons. And once my skills are maxed, it's basically ruins and better weapons. That's all I got left. The life skilling things are really just supplementary to make food that gives you like bonuses, XP bonuses, solent bonuses, mastery bonuses, you know. Over time, the masteries will level themselves. Like I said, Great Sword is almost 18, and it only goes to 20, so there's that. Hopefully, they release more content, more dungeons, and more story, so that there's a little bit to do in between going back to the grinding phase of things. And it'll be a little refreshing, I hope. But until then, we PvP and do the small micro upgrades that we can, and do our daily tasks, and then we log off, because there isn't a huge amount to do. I think I look similar. My wife says I do a good job making my character. Trying to turn the same way he does. But yeah, that's that. It's not the next big MMO like anybody says, and I also don't see why people are bleeding so bad. The game is fun. It's just, it's not a game that's meant to be played 16 hours a day. You know, games are games. They're not lives. So sitting on here playing 12 to 14 hours a day, yeah, it's gonna get boring. But any game does. But people keep saying, "Oh, the game's dying," you know, and we're doing, all the big creators are doing these clickbait titles and stuff. So I figured I'd weigh in on this. I've noticed the population falling, but this is how I play the game. The loop isn't terrible. I've played other games that were worse, and I've played other games that were better. It's just kind of middle of the road, and it looks great. The graphics are great. There's a few problems with it, but every game has its problems. But for now, it's a good supplemental game to Black Desert, and I'm enjoying it. So, there's my take. Be it wrong, be it not wrong, whether you agree or not. Down below, put it in the comment. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you haven't tried it yet, or if you're going to. But it's refreshing. It's something about these tab target MMOs. They just, to me, they don't get old. That's what a game on the computer used to be. You know, it was all tab target. And the WoW clones I really enjoyed. Never played WoW, but I would probably enjoy it if I played it. But now the graphics look so outdated, I don't know if I could. But I do enjoy the tab target style. It's a little easier on my broken hands, you know. So easier for me to grind. I can push a button and be tanky and not have to worry about dodging a bunch of stuff, and unless I'm PvPing, and PvP doesn't last, you know, hours and hours on end. So I can deal with that. But that's what I got. So hope you enjoy. I'll see you in the next one as soon as I come up with something else. So enjoy your week, and as always, until next time.